I don't want someone in power that's going to not want to leave. I don't want someone.
Oh my God. You are not a Republican. There's just no freaking way.
Behind every Never Trump Republican is a story for why that person is weak.
Did you mean Barack Hussein Obama?
January 6th itself. I mean, was it a bad day? Absolutely. It was a bad day.
I have to disagree.
Quiet. You guys. Lady Maga, can you guide everybody in a deep breath? Hey, my name's John. I host a podcast called Radical Empathy. I also directed the Flat Earthers episode of Middle Ground. And as punishment, I've been asked by Ragini to moderate today's episode between pro-Trump Republicans and anti-Trump Republicans. The first prompt is, Trump is an honest man. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Fact-checking in this episode was powered by Ground News, a platform that helps you compare coverage across the political spectrum.
Lady Maga, why don't you start us off?
Trump is an honest man because he has stood up for the truth in this country and paid the price for it. He has been persecuted more than any other political figure in modern times. And if he wasn't telling the truth, I don't think he would stick by it. And also, all of the witch hunts haven't really found him caught as a liar, so to speak, yet. So I believe he's an honest man. And I mostly believe he honestly loves this country. That's the most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think by virtue of how honest he is with his remarks and how off the cuff he is proof of how honest he really is. If perhaps he was more like Obama, someone willing to lie simply to get votes, to kind of hide his perspectives, he might be a little more popular by some of the other folks here today. But because he's very honest, he says things like shithole country, he's impugned sometimes for that off-the-cuff honesty that I really respect, considering that we don't have a lot of honest politicians.
And we can't forget about creative editing in today's society. Trump is a transactional man. He's from Queens. And if anybody knows people from Queens like to exaggerate because they were always against the Bronx or Brooklyn or Manhattan. So it's part of his personality. But what I really like about him is not only, has he been wrong about certain things? Who isn't? Is he a perfect human being? Who is? But do I think he's out there intentionally lying to the American people? No, I do not.
And I think Trump, if he were a liar, his life would actually be a lot easier because the press has come after him for things like using tax loopholes. And he'll come out and say, yeah, I use them. All rich people use them.
You
You're
made the
stupid
law.
if you don't use them. Why wouldn't I? And I think he's so unfiltered that he almost wouldn't have the ability to lie. That's just not his personality. And he actually gets attacked for being too honest and too glib, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's bring in our disagreeers.
Here comes the sun.
I just can't agree. I mean, I think if Trump was an honest man, then he wouldn't be on trial right now for lying about having sex with a porn star and using his business records to cover it up so that his campaign supporters wouldn't find out. I think anytime that MAGA places Trump up with Jesus, I mean, this happens all the time.
That doesn't happen. That's a
It
lie.
absolutely
That's
does.
a lie.
There was a segment in the Daily Show with I'm forgetting his name, Jordan Klepper. There was a segment in the Daily Show with Jordan Klepper
Who
where they went to a Trump rally.
Let's let him
There was a segment where they went to a Trump rally and they asked supporters at the Trump rally, hey, does Trump remind you of Jesus? And they were like, yeah, he's been so persecuted.
Right, but what does that have to do with his honesty? You just brought up the if I can finish, you brought up the Stormy Daniels incident, which he is literally being sued for saying I didn't rape her.
Right.
He's being sued.
No. Stormy Daniels is saying that he had sex with a porn star.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about Stormy Daniels, the case going on in New York right now, where he's being sued because he covered up a $130,000 payment by falsifying his business. No, he did.
Allegedly.
He did. He 100% did.
Okay, and New York City changed the law, making a misdemeanor a felony to make it a criminal trial.
Okay, but lying and having it be a misdemeanor is not any different than lying and having it be a felony.
He says that he didn't have sex with her.
Yeah,
he said he didn't.
He still made the payment to her, and he falsified. I don't know if he had sex with her or not. It doesn't matter if he had sex with her.
I don't think a porn star is a celebrity, with all due respect.
Well, with all due respect, you're 2.5 hours late, so I really don't care what you have to say.
Okay.
Your time's obviously a lot more. A lot more.
You know what? I left my son's birthday party an hour before he turned 9 just to be here because I feel
You didn't
that
know it
this
was
is-
going to be his birthday?
No, I did know it was
All
going
right,
to be.
Okay, we'll get back on to
I do
Todd.
want to keep. I want to
like
keep the
that's
focus
very
on the prompt.
So
Or
if I can
fire-
ask this young
fire on
man,
all
because he
cylinders.
seems to bring up these trials a lot. So can I ask you?
Yeah.
Do you think that there has ever been an instance of using the law to hurt a political enemy? Has that ever happened in this country?
I think that
Has that ever happened in this country?
Absolutely. I think that
Okay,
some of
so-
the no, listen, let me finish.
Okay.
I think that some of the cases against Trump are a little bit stretched. I will give you that. But at the same time, Trump did falsify these business records, and we've known about it for the past 5 years. It hasn't been brought to court because he was president, but as soon as he wasn't president, they brought it to court. There was $130,000 that he falsified as a business expense. So if you're going to say that he was being honest about that, he wasn't being honest. It doesn't matter whether it's a misdemeanor
And
or
yet
felony.
they're charging
It's
it with
still
a
lie.
campaign.
Right. So let's say I give you this one instance of dishonesty.
But it wasn't
How does
one.
that
Look
prove that
about
in its
Jenny
totality,
Carroll.
President Trump is more dishonest,
I challenge
especially
you. Let's-
versus other
Let's let
politicians?
RC.
Right?
Why wouldn't you
So
want to
you're giving me one example.
Hold on.
I
Why
just
wouldn't
gave
you
you
want to
another
be
one.
honest about your business dealings,
Not
though?
just
Isn't
one.
that literally one of the most founding marks of American?
Again,
the charge
we
is a
we
lie.
can debate the intricacies of this trial, which is literally being legislated right now in court. So
I
I'm
would
saying,
argue
but
that
I'm saying,
his
let's say
entire
you're right.
rhetoric is a lie. He's campaigning in 2024 on the fact that he won the 2020 election. He did not win the 2020 election.
How
he
many
is
presidents-
0 for 60 in court cases.
Well, let's
Okay,
not
how
even
many-
forget the
He is
entire
if you
tagline of
put a
Make
batter
America
up-
Great Again.
How many
America was
presidents
already
have
great.
been elected? Not how many bellwether counties do they have to win to become
It
president?
doesn't matter.
No,
There
it
has
does
not been
matter.
a single proven
Historically-
case of fraud.
All right.
There has not been a single
I want to
proven
just
case
pull
of
in
fraud.
voices who haven't spoke yet. Sorry, what's your name?
Travis.
Travis, you were trying to get in here?
The issue that I personally take with the honesty of Trump is that the entire tagline of Make America Great Again is inherently dishonest because America was already great. Sure, we've got a lot of issues that are going on in the country. We've got racial division, we've got political division. Even the factionalism between the political sides are an issue. But that doesn't mean that America isn't already inherently great. We've got so many great policies that are in place. The American dream is still alive, I believe, personally.
Can I ask, did you take that directly from Elizabeth Warren or Hillary?
Neither.
Oh, I've heard them say that many times. I was just curious.
Well, it doesn't make it any less true even if they did say it. I mean, do you think that the American dream is dead? Do you think people just can't move
Well,
up?
if
no,
America
let
is
me-
so great under
let
the
me
leadership
answer.
of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, then why
Yeah.
even bother being a Republican?
Right.
But just to
Right.
close the loop,
No, he
'cause
asked me a
we got lots of
question.
great prompts.
He asked me a question I want to answer
Oh, okay.
with a general statement. A lot of people would call you, our opposition here, rhinos. I will not use that word. I consider you Democrats.
And what
just not
does
true.
rhino mean?
Republican in name
only.
That's just
I consider
not,
you a
Can I
Democrat
respond?
as well as you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
okay.
then let's.
Kindly.
let's
I just can't. I don't understand how you can say that. I have conservative values. I have conservative values on abortion. I have conservative values on education. I just don't like a cult leader leading our cause.
Can I ask
So,
you, will you be voting for Biden or Trump, or are you sitting out?
I will be voting for Biden because I don't.
So
want-
Yeah, so you're-
yourself as a
that's a
conservative.
Democrat.
How is that a
Thank you. Thank
How
you.
are you a Democrat
Thank
if you vote for a Democrat?
Because I don't want someone in power that's going to not want to leave. I
have
don't
to-
want
Oh,
someone.
oh my God.
Like
you
if
are not a
at-
Republican.
At the
though.
end
There's
of
just
4
no
years,
freaking way.
we had gotten to a point where, let's say there is an instance where Trump has been, it's proven that he was dishonest about something. Are you willing to look past that? You were trying to make that point.
Well, the point I had made, and I didn't get an answer from either of these folks, which is, comparatively, is Trump more honest than other politicians? And we've given examples of how he is and how that has actually led to persecution from him. In fact, you're only kind of proving this. You agree that lawfare exists, but for some reason you don't think it's applicable in this criminal trial. So my question is, do you think he's comparatively honest based upon the fact that he's off the cuff and very authentic?
So first
Would
of all,
you give me that?
just because all of the trials aren't the best cases doesn't mean that some of the trials aren't great cases. Like, for example, he kept files at Mar-a-Lago for 6 months with warnings from the FBI and
Presidential
CIA.
Records Act.
And
So did
he had
Biden,
the
though.
chance to give them back, and he
And he
didn't. And so now he's on
wasn't
trial
under
for
the
it. That's a
Presidential
clear crime.
Records Act.
The same thing with Stormy Daniels. That's a clear crime. So, like,
She had to pay
I
his
think
attorney
that
fees.
him being honest about certain things is okay. But if you're not honest about the big stuff, if you're not honest about
You
that
think Biden's more
Americans
honest?
can trust our
You
elections,
think Biden's more honest?
I think on the issues that matter, he might be than Trump because
Bring up classified files. Biden has mishandled classified files as well. I don't see how you can.
But he didn't
hold-
willfully do that,
Oh,
and
it
he
was
gave them
he's
back
just
when the FBI
incompetent.
asked him.
Okay, let's
Can I jump in?
reset because we're gonna get to all the good stuff again. So let's
Alrighty,
reset next prompt.
reset.
Hey there, how did that conversation make you feel? Do political debates make you feel anxious? I feel you on that. Look, if we're gonna get through this political season, or even this video, I have something that can ease those anxious thoughts. Have you heard of Skylight? Well, Skylight is a totally free app with hundreds of relaxing spiritual exercises, including this one. Try following along.
I can thrive in uncertain times. I am able to stay politically informed in a balanced and peaceful way. Even though I may disagree with others, I can treat them with kindness and love. I am a divine creation with my own thoughts and opinions. Now take a deep breath in and then slowly exhale and realize that politics are temporary and everything is going to be all right.
How's that? Did that make you feel better? Next time you're feeling that political anxiety creeping in, check out skylight.org for more free tools towards your spiritual wellness. Now, let's get back to the video.
Anti-Trump Republicans are Democrats in disguise. Will the agreeers please step forward?
So I think conceptually it's perfectly possible to be a Republican and say, you know what, I don't think Trump is the best option. I would rather someone like Ron DeSantis. And I know a lot of friends who are hardcore conservatives, they would rather DeSantis for X, Y, or Z reasons. That's totally legitimate. But at the end of the day, they're still Republicans, they're still conservatives, so they're gonna vote for the person on the ballot who best represents conservative values. That is Donald Trump. I don't care what kind of personal issues you have with him. You don't think he's the most honest, whatever. You don't like his business dealings. You can't tell me, though, that you honestly believe that Joe Biden is going to pursue a more conservative right-wing agenda than Donald Trump. There's no justification for that. And so, you know, anti-Trump, yeah, not necessarily. Maybe there's one or two people who describe themselves that way, but they're still a Republican. But it seems like when push comes to shove, 99% of the time, when there is someone who says, I'm a Republican, but I just don't like Trump, they also end up saying, and I will, in fact, be voting for Joe Biden.
Mitt Romney said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, my dear.
Well, and again, we've seen it with Liz Cheney and many others, and I think we have a problem with the uniparty in this country right now. When you look
What do you mean by that, uniparty?
What I mean by that I think that there's a lot of politicians that are funded by corporations and lobbyists, and they don't care about the voice of the people. What they care about is where the money's coming from. That's what I mean by uniparty. And I think it's on both sides of the aisle. I don't think it's exclusively Republican. I don't think it's exclusively Democrat. The problem I have is when we see our country right now, we've got 18 million people that have crossed our border illegally. We have over 100,000 missing migrant children, and we have Biden's State Department basically giving our military base in Panama, funding NGOs with military-age men and flying them into our country. If you can vote for that and say you're a Republican, I'm sorry, you're not.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
it angers me.
I am a big believer in the phrase, by their enemies you shall know them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Utah. I'm a gay man, a drag artist, but I don't believe in pronouns. I don't claim to be a woman. I would never go in a women's bathroom. But our very Republican Mormon governor, Spencer Cox, can't stand Donald Trump. He's just so mean. And our Republican governor has he, him pronouns in his social media bio. So he is allowing Utah to slide down the slope of wokeism. He is in no way, shape, or form a real conservative. And so people like my cowardly, emasculated governor hate Donald Trump, and that says everything to me. And as this young man said, he would vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden supports aborting a 9-month-old, fully grown baby in the womb. He said he's pro-life, but he would vote for Joe Biden. So yes, he's a Democrat. These people are Democrats, as far as we're concerned.
Lady Maga, do you mind if I just do a quick follow-up on your story? How do you find yourself as a conservative? I think most people would associate being a gay man. Is that correct?
Gay.
Being gay with being liberal.
But see, I think that's a lie too.
No, I'm just
that
addressing.
We as Republicans don't like gay people. That is a lie.
No, it absolutely.
That is a lie.
It's great to know. I just want to hear
that very quickly. I am a biological gay man. This is my drag persona. I don't live my life as a woman. But the I call it the LGBTQIA plus ever-expanding alphabet mafia. And I had to step away from the alphabet people, as I call them, pushing transgenderism, hormones, and mutilation on children. That was one. And as a dignified drag artist who loves to present a sparkly, fabulous character, I could no longer stand by and watch drag queens stripping in a thong and a trapeze in front of children who are the same age as my nieces and nephews. So I had to step away from that. And Donald Trump expanded who gets to be a conservative. The MAGA crowd, we are wild, we are fun, we are outside the box. I don't fit the cookie cutter suit and tie Republican, so as a gay man, that's why I'm a conservative, and there are millions of gay conservatives, but they're terrified to say anything because they will be attacked for supporting Donald Trump.
Were you a pro-Trump, right? Like when he first entered the political scene?
You know, I voted for him with my eyes closed. I was like, Hillary or Donald Trump? This is a gamble, but obvious I couldn't vote for Hillary. So I voted for Donald Trump, and then I watched him very closely. I'm not a celebrity worshiper. He's not a superstar. I'm not in a cult for Donald Trump. I scrutinize every single thing he does because that's my job as an American, is to scrutinize anyone who has a leadership position that involves my life. So he won me over, and I know I'm talking too much, but the day he really, really won me over is when he called Haiti an S-H-I-T hole. And I'll explain why. I lived overseas for 10 years of my life, working in the humanitarian realm. I spent years in Africa. Haiti is very similar to Africa. Children don't have their rights. Women can get raped with no protection from the police. So by calling a spade and using that phrase, I realized this guy gets it. He's not like Barack Hussein Obama, who's a cultural relativist who pretends that Haiti is the equal of America and our way of life. So as off-color as the comment was, a little bell went off in my head like, this guy is not a polished teleprompter politician like Mitt Romney. So he won me over. Many other reasons too, but that was an important moment.
Thank you for sharing your backstory.
Sorry, could I just expand upon that? I think Donald Trump has won over a lot of people, and if you're anti-Trump in 2016, you don't want to vote for him, I could understand that more. But after seeing everything Donald Trump has done in office to advance the conservative cause, whether that's appointing the judges, easing the tax burden on Americans, trying to do something about the ridiculous immigration system, you name it, he has a proven track record of conservative government, maybe not as conservative as I would like, but it's still something. And so at this point, for people to still be, no, I would rather Joe Biden, there's no excuse other than you're a Democrat.
Let's bring in our disagreeers. We haven't heard from you yet. Why don't you start off?
There was like so much that said, where would you like me to start from?
Whatever feels right to you.
All right, thank you. I think, first of all, when we say that it was an isolated incident, and just to touch back just a moment before, just because you have diarrhea of the mouth does not mean you're honest. It just means you have poor couth. You don't know how to be respectful. And B, as a lot of you say, what is the Republican candidate movement is the word that's coming about. It's about faith, family, values, integrity. When you think of Donald Trump, do you think of integrity?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But and again, I'm not looking for a pastor. I'm looking for a president.
That was more rhetorical. That was more rhetorical, if you will. Thank you. So I think that's the first thing to be said. And you said one incident with the Stormy Daniels. And
again, we're in disagreement there.
Okay, but let's go on. You just think about this for a moment. The likelihood of these two women being in the same room, a writer and a porn star, barely a celebrity, D-list celebrity, right? Even if she was an amazing producer and writer of porn films, okay? She's still very bottom D-list celebrity. And this woman who never would have crossed paths under any circumstances. Where are these women meeting, by the way? Is she writing the porn scripts? No, we know that's not true. And they both have the same story.
May I address
the same story. Let me finish. You've been talking a lot. Let me finish, please. It's just not coincidence. You have to say there's a little bit of shred of truth there that two women from opposite walks of life would have the same narrative. It just doesn't make sense that that would be all lies. And so that's just the first thing, because you were saying, oh, it's only one incident.
No, I never said that.
Well, someone
But
on
I
your
said
panel-
what you're saying is not true because it doesn't give the entire fact of the matter. First of all, you say that you should believe women. Does that mean that you also believe
I never said that we should believe women.
Well, Tara Reid, for instance, who was slammed and shamed for accusing Joe Biden and actually had the evidence to back it up. You're talking about Jean Carroll. I would challenge anybody in this room.
$83 million.
I would challenge any. Let me finish what I'm saying now, please. I would challenge anybody in this room to go into a crowded department store and scream that you're being raped and see what happens. There were no witnesses. This woman went on CNN, said that she thought rape was sexy, and named her cat vagina. I think she's a nut job. As far as Stormy Daniels, she had to pay Trump's legal fees last time around. And let's not forget, her attorney that put her up to this is in jail.
And to be clear, I don't believe these two incidents are just coincidences. I think they're both actively lying and politically motivated. So no, it's not a coincidence.
You're giving little highlights of the story that suit you about Stormy.
No, that's not true.
That is true, sweetheart.
No, it's not, and don't call me sweetheart.
I can call you whatever I'd like.
Okay.
Let's just.
Sorry, I'm just very annoyed that we all sat here.
You keep going on and on.
We're gonna have to
clearly
look.
irrelevant.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Clearly have a victim
We're gonna have to keep
mentality.
moving forward. I haven't heard from you yet.
Are we gonna?
I know time's more valuable for you because you're older.
Okay. Okay, so the prompt.
Don't. If you want to go there, I'll go.
Okay, so the prompt is, anti-Trump Republicans are actually Democrats. And you came in because you disagreed.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I have the perspective of really being a proud Democrat till 2012-13 when I started saying, okay, the left has completely lost its mind. And I mean, I've played at the White House 4 times, all with Democratic presidents. But I feel like I've never really moved on many of my issues. It's just the left has gone so far left.
Exactly. Yeah.
Completely. But
he doesn't speak
for
for
being
all of us.
honest.
no. But the thing is, and Laura, you bring up a great point about, you can slice the pie so many ways of what to call each other. The elites and the politicians versus the uniparty versus everyone else. There's so many ways you can slice it. The Democrats can be cut up in different ways. Republicans can be cut up in different ways. But my main value is protecting individualism over collectivism, capitalism over anything else. Just these core values of America. And am I anti-Trump? Absolutely. Does that mean I'm going to vote for Joe Biden? Hell no. I'm not going to do that. So you can't just call it that, we're Democrats. No, I'm someone that was a Democrat, and I would never call myself that anymore, which is sad to say, but hell no. So it's complicated. There's so many ways you can slice the pie.
What makes you anti-Trump, if you had to choose one thing?
Well, I mean, even on the last prompt with, is he an honest man? Even that's kind of complicated because when you asked it, it's like, oh God, no, he's not an honest man. He lies like crazy. But Gavin Newsom lies, I think, worse than Trump does. They all, you were more talking in the topic and aspect of, does he say things that the rest of us think in our mind and go, I wish I could say that publicly. Yeah, he does. And they all do. It's more, plus the reason I even added to this to be part of this whole thing is the idea that the left has just so many things they stand for is so hypocritical, so terrible, and they've put themselves on this tee as a ball for someone to hit as a grand slam and destroy them. And it's sad, especially from my perspective, coming from the left originally, to see that the person that we've decided to hit that ball and destroy them, which we should all be a team together to destroy this enemy, is Donald Trump. Really? With all the great Republicans that I really love, he's the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land to save the country from the Marxist left and everything else.
Who would you choose?
There's so many people. Well, actually, a lot of Trump's VPs, unfortunately, are some of my favorite people. Whether it's Vivek, whether it's Tulsi, whether it's Byron Donalds. I love Condoleezza Rice. We already talked about Thomas Sowell, one of my absolute heroes in the world. But why him of all? And the thing is, it has stifled this war to which we should all be together and destroying the left and stopping them. And now we're just fighting each other, and it's ruining the war to which we should be all together on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have seen 8 years of lawfare, and it's been very clear, lawfare. General Flynn, I was with him last night. His family was destroyed over a lie. Over a lie. Russiagate was a lie. Spygate was a lie. I truly believe, murderers get 25 to life in prison. This lawfare, do you know how many years Trump's facing? 700 years in prison. Do you really think that he deserves that?
No.
And I truly think that if we allow lawfare I believe that if we allow lawfare to travel as far and get away with what they've done, we don't have a country anymore.
No, the precedents that could be set if
Oh,
he's
it's
convicted on these
disgusting.
things. It's like you can hate him. It's fine to hate him for this, that, and the other reason, but to allow the precedent, even the insurrection situation, which did he push it?
No.
Did he push it to happen?
I-
Kind of, but did he say go to the
Hold on.
Capitol and
Hold
blast
on.
with a
No,
Can I
he
jump,
said,
can I jump
please
in there for a
play
second?
patriotically.
Okay, just
your
to
voice
address
be
the
heard.
prompt real quick. If being a Republican is sucking up to Trump, then I am not a Republican.
I
If
think being a
I agree
Republican
with
just
that.
means
being
not
a
literally
Republican
voting Democrat. is
No,
being
that's
civil.
not what being a Republican means. People are split ticket and are still
way.
a member of a party. I can be a Republican and vote for a Democrat that I think does a better job. It's not that complicated. People used to have like sense and be in the middle. Like Bob Dole.
you would be so
there's a
successful
quote.
in the
hold on,
Democrat
hold on,
Party.
sorry. Bob Dole, just like there was a quote from Bob Dole where he said, you know, my enemy, he's not my enemy, he's my opponent. And that's where I feel like we've strayed from the Republican Party. That's what Donald Trump brought in 2016 was this mentality of, oh, we have to hate them because we don't agree with them. We have to hate them. They can't take office. They can't be anywhere near anything.
Are you
And that's-
quoting him?
What?
He said he said we have to hate them. Are you quoting Donald J.
That's
Trump?
he talks about Democrats as the enemy all the time.
But
Look at his
He said fuck Joe Biden on his
at
true
his
self.
X-feed.
Do
Like, he
Democrats
said,
talk
fuck
about
Joe Biden on his true
Republicans
self.
as the enemy?
Is that hate?
Young man, do Democrats talk about Republicans as the enemy
I've been a
of America?
Republican a lot longer than 2016,
Absolutely.
and I've definitely
I think
been
it's, I
hated
think it's
longer by
reciprocated.
Donald.
But I think that Donald Trump has exacerbated the situation, so much so to the point where he thought that it was like so much of a tragedy of Republicans losing the 2020 election that he thought there's no way it could happen. There's no way because Democrats are so bad that the only way that we lose is if it's rigged. So what he did is he built up the tension 7 months in advance. He was telling his supporters that the election was only going to be rigged if he lost. 7 months
he's doing
in
it again
April.
now.
In April of 2020, 7 months in advance, he said it is rigged if I lose. And then
Well, it
in
was rigged.
August, he said it again.
I think
It's
so,
not
too.
a rigged
Hillary
election.
also made
And
it.
then,
Dig into.
can I just?
Yeah, we're gonna dig into the
Different
election
topic,
in a second.
Okay,
Can
I'll
I add
just
a 20 seconds? No, you finish.
Okay, I was just gonna say, sorry. So like, and then when he calls his supporters up on January 6th, you can say whatever you want about what he told them to do at the Capitol, but if you call your supporters up on January 6th, have a massive rally with millions of people, tell them to march down to the Capitol,
Peacefully
it
and
doesn't matter what he
patriotically.
said.
It
He
does.
set up Mike Pence as a traitor if he didn't accept those electoral
You
votes.
said we're going to
So-
cover the insurrection.
Okay.
I have the luck of being a political strategist. So I've actually seen the data set of anti-Trump Republicans who are hard Republicans who usually do vote Republican in elections. I think the reason why that is because psychological manipulation is very powerful. And I think that if you're weak enough, you're susceptible to it. I don't want to get personal here, but we have people on stage, 3 young men who look like they haven't lifted a weight in their life, and we have a woman.
What does that have to do with my political?
And we have a woman.
I want to hear what he says about
I have a heart condition that makes me.
Let me finish. And we have a woman displaying the Jezebel spirit here despite her age. Despite her age. Wow. The point I'm making is behind every
Cleavage.
never
Even
Trump,
Melania shows
behind
cleavage
every
more
never
than I
Trump
do.
Republican is a story
Let's
for
hear
why
this
that
point
person
out.
is weak and for why that person
Jezebel
is
spirit.
accepting of
You
the
think-
psychological manipulations and warfare used by Democrats. This young man is a musician. He just probably doesn't want to hurt his liberal friends and ruin
no,
his,
I don't
and
mind
ruin
that.
his
This young man is so
positionality.
whitewashed, he
That is
doesn't
the
even know how to
worst.
be black anymore.
So you think that because we're white,
If you want to go there about my
Can I also
cleavage,
ask
I can
how
go
lifting
there.
the weight is
Do you
in
even
any
have
way
you
related
even,
to
do you even
Republicanism?
know anything
Actually,
about studies
heritage,
show that
Let's
people who go to
let's
the gym,
reset.
specifically
Let's
more likely to be
reset. We
conservative.
want to be very cautious
would
of
definitely get
descending
beat up
into
if you went
personal
down the street.
insults. We want to be
Well, that's what
cautious
she's
of any
done.
personal
She's a
insults.
But you'll make it at Yale
Kumbaya.
and Harvard for
Deep
sure.
breaths. Inhale, exhale.
Deep
Kumbaya.
breaths. That's right, Lady Maga. Can you guide everybody in a deep
Deep
breath?
breath. Zen.
We thought this would be a calm one.
Oh my gosh, I totally did. Yeah.
If my eyes were closed, you would be white.
Where do they get their news? Because I'll
Let's avoid personal
Yeah,
attacks.
please don't speak about my cleavage. Melania shows more than I do.
All right. The next prompt is: the 2020 election was rigged. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Sit over here this time too.
Yeah. I studied the lighting before I came here. That seat, and this seat have the best lighting.
Yeah, so just so we're all clear, no one said there's no evidence of fraud. The decisions that were made by judges was that there was not enough fraud to overturn the election. So it's an analytical decision that I never saw any actual test on how that can be proved.
The prompt says it was rigged. You
Right.
believe it was rigged.
100%.
And why?
Well, number one, there's anomalies in almost every swing state. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia. Mail-in balloting was put in as a tool in order for the left to pump more votes. Republicans have been fighting against voter fraud and for election integrity for years. I guess some of these people, maybe 2020 was the first time they ever thought that an election could be rigged, but Republicans have been fighting against purging old inactive voter names off of rolls for a long time. President Trump, one of the first things he did was he tried to get secretaries of states to cooperate and submit data so they can prove the fraud was happening. And what happened? Democrat state secretary of states did not agree to comply. And uniparty Secretary of States also did the same thing.
And just so I can be crystal clear, just because it's a very technical thing,
Right.
you're saying there were anomalies, you don't believe they were rigorously investigated.
I believe that they were all swept under the rug, and we can get into every individual situation, such as what happened in Maricopa County, what happened in Fulton County in Georgia, but those intricacies might get extrapolated when these jokesters come up here, but I think that the proof is in the pudding. The election was rigged.
Well, and the thing that I saw as well, when these cases went to court, most of them were dismissed upon standing. The evidence was never heard. And that's something that they don't tell you. Another thing, it was almost like death by 1,000 cuts. We had COVID. Mass mail-in voting is not safe or secure. There's no chain of custody. I do not believe that Joe Biden got more votes than Barack Obama. I just don't. Donald Trump got the most votes of any former president in history, and yet we had the machines shut down at night. I saw ballots pulled from under a table. I saw a woman scan them again and again and again. I watched the hearing when
Where'd you see those?
Where'd I see that?
Yeah, just.
I saw it when they were having the hearings in the beginning when they were presenting the cases.
Gotcha.
I also saw, I lost my train of thought.
sorry.
It's okay. But I just think, we had the Zuckerbucks. We had it wasn't just one thing, it was multiple things coming together. I would love to see California get rid of mass mail-in voting. I'm fine with absentee ballots. My son is a Marine. And when I ran for office, he had just gotten out of boot camp. And after he got out of boot camp, he came home for 2 weeks before being shipped to Pensacola, voted by mail. We tracked his ballot. It never got there. It never got there. So if my own child, when I was a candidate, his vote didn't get there, why should I believe that doesn't happen a lot?
And to expand upon this a little bit, one of the biggest things that the left likes to bring up when it comes to 2016 and the idea of Russian interference is actually Facebook ads, Facebook memes basically trying to influence the electorate via social media. That was considered election interference back then. Fast forward to 2020, and you actually have sites like Facebook and even Twitter blocking the Hunter Biden laptop story, which we know for a fact independents especially say would have absolutely swayed the way they voted in the 2020 election. And it's not just the Hunter Biden laptop story. A bunch of other right-wing accounts have also been throttled by big tech. We know this. There was a push toward authoritative sources on sites like YouTube, which basically is the mainstream media, which is leftist media. So there was an attempt by big tech to control the narrative, which they did, suppress anti-Biden stories, which they did. I don't know how you can say that, maybe a Russian bot posting on Facebook, well, that's election interference, but Facebook itself, the platform, throttling important news, that's not election interference.
And this isn't a left or right thing.
Exactly.
I can say I posted the New York Post story. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channels were censored immediately at the same time, and then they took my business pages. That should not happen in America.
Amen.
Just, focusing one more time on the prompt, just because I think this is really
I'd
important.
love to contribute something.
Yeah, and maybe you can respond to this.
It's about the prompt.
The word rigged do any of you believe there was like a coordinated, vast effort?
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
just, could you kind of explain
I just
why?
need a clarification from you. You mentioned someone named Barack Obama. Did you mean Barack Hussein Obama?
Yes, that's the one.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Anyway, so with the election in 2020, number one, we had unprecedented anomalies in the way that everybody voted. So that right there puts things into question because it was the first time we'd ever done it this way. And we all saw the voting places with cardboard over the windows so that Republicans couldn't see in. I'm willing to say, I don't have proof, I'm not 100% sure, but what I am 100% sure of is there has not been a completely transparent, bipartisan investigation of this so that we don't even have to argue about it. The fact that we're arguing about it means that there has not been a solid, concrete, fact-based investigation into that election.
And people need to trust the vote, or this is never going to go away. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican.
I don't trust the vote right now.
It's not up for debate. As she proved, was there media interference and was there censorship? Yes. Did that interfere with the election? Yes. Was there one single party pushing for unbridled mail-in votes because they thought that could increase their chance of winning? Unequivocally, yes. I think that is the proof in the pudding. The election was rigged. It's not up for debate.
Amen.
Okay, let's bring in our disagreeers.
So I personally would have voted for Trump in 2020. I think for me, a lot of the shift in how I view, versus Republican, Democrat versus like Trump being an anomaly has come after the 2020 election with his behavior on, the election being rigged and things. But I think that I was willing to hear him out. He's a sitting president. He makes claims of fraud. You have to, respect that because you're in office. Like especially if it's in your own party, you have to hear them out. But when there were 60 court cases, and you can say that they were, I know you think that they weren't heard.
They were dismissed on standing.
But
Let's hear what he's.
most of those judges, or at least half of them, were pro-Trump judges, and all of those cases went up to the Supreme Court. Okay? Every single one of the important cases went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court denied the writ of certiorari. All right? And so the 6-3 Supreme Court that Donald Trump had just put in, that conservatives celebrated as being completely legitimate and they would bring about a lot of great change for conservatives, they didn't accept any of the charges that Donald Trump made against the electorate. And then you have Sidney Powell, you have Rudy Giuliani, all getting criminally charged because they lied about the election.
Sydney just won her case.
Okay, but that...
Sydney just won 2 days ago.
Go into specifics.
She won.
Saying what?
She was not guilty.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay,
2 days ago.
But there have been a bunch of suits.
Rudy Giuliani is still.
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani is definitely going to.
America's mayor.
So, but there were suits made, like for example, Fox News settled $787 million with Dominion Voting. Okay, James O'Keefe settled with the people that he defamed through the Erie, Pennsylvania, like post office.
Whistleblower
person.
defamed them, not James O'Keefe. A
Yeah, but
whistleblower said
he and his
heard
media
election
group, which
fraud.
published it,
Right. So
as
there's
being
nuance there.
censory.
It sounds like you don't understand the nuance of a lot of these issues. You just said half the
The
judges.
nuance meaning
you
what?
said half the judges who dismissed these cases were pro-Trump judges. What
Yeah,
does that mean?
there was
they were appointed by Bush. They weren't
No, they were
appointed by
appointed
Trump.
There was a lot. There
half
were
of the
Republican judges. Right? What
So
are,
they
are
were
you saying?
appointed by Trump.
Are you saying
Yeah,
there's
where
like
are you
this
getting
massive scheme among the judges? The judges got together beforehand and they were like, oh, like you know what? We actually all
telling
hate
you your
Donald
information
Trump.
is
I do
wrong.
believe they all hate
Half of
Donald
them
You
Trump.
were.
think all of them got
saying-
together?
You're
I
saying
think
you
most of
I'm
them.
believe.
saying,
where they
fact
got
check,
their
name.
half of the dismissals
So
were
what?
not judges that were appointed by Trump. That's
No,
just
not
factually
appointed
You're
by
wrong.
saying his information is wrong. What information do you
He just
feel
said
is
that half of the judges that dismissed the cases were pro-Trump judges. And meaning
Pro-Trump,
what? What does
as
that
meaning
mean?
some of them were even appointed by Trump, right?
Half of them?
No, not half of them. I'm saying
what he
pro-Trump,
said.
as in like Republican appointees.
That
right?
does not mean you're pro-Trump if you were appointed
In the
by
2020
Bush.
election, I would
You
say
have
that
a
the vast
fundamental
majority.
misunderstanding of how
No,
the law works.
I would say that the vast
Judges
majority.
are not political. They are.
Whoa, the
you
judge,
just
whoa,
interpret
judges
the
are
law.
not political.
100%.
So that means that they didn't make political decisions to dismiss the election charges, right?
You saying that a judge was a pro-Trump judge is factually inaccurate.
No, but that
There
means
is no
you're
such
saying
thing as a
politics
pro-Trump
wasn't. So
judge.
politics wasn't involved in.
I don't think you understand. This
Politics
is
wasn't
your
involved in
point,
their
not
decision,
mine.
right?
You said these judges were pro-Trump. I'm
No,
saying
was
that wasn't
politics
true.
involved in their decision? I'm saying if politics was involved, they were pro-Trump.
Dismissing
Was
it-
politics involved in their
Dismissing
decision?
a
Yes or
case
no?
does not mean that the voter
Yes
fraud
or
didn't
no?
happen, as she just showed.
So if they
explained
thought
to
that
you-
there was voter fraud in the country,
right.
do you think that they would have said, "Oh yeah, this is an important thing that we need to solve"? Or do you think they would have
Not
just
if they
said,
want 'em
"Eh,
out."
it's fine"? You think
Not-
all
not if-
60
not
of the
if
judges?
not if their
You think-
standard was there enough fraud to overturn the election?
You think all 60 judges just didn't want to pursue it?
I'm explaining to you.
I think the most
the
important thing
disagreement
to
is
remember
there.
here is we need to focus on joy, like the joy you felt when Joe Biden won.
That is not joy that I felt, actually. I hated it when Joe
Lady
Biden.
Maga's always.
I was rooting for Trump to win.
I haven't heard anyone challenge whether or not censorship was a problem.
I will grant you
Censorship's
that
always
censorship
been a
was a problem, but
problem.
censorship is a problem on all sides.
both ways.
No, it's not a
No,
problem on the
I feel like we've heard
It's not a problem
we've heard
on
some
the
arguments
people. It is
from here. We have a clear disagreement
Obviously,
between you two.
censorship,
but
I have too
who
much
else who
cleavage,
just-
so censorship is alive and well.
Yeah, what?
I mean, one thing is, it's not like Trump won by lost by 8 electoral votes or 12. He got killed. It was not close.
He didn't just need Michigan.
He needed so many of the states. And the other thing is, guess who's winning in all this discussion that we're all having all these years about rigged elections? I have a friend that was in the CIA until 2022 that mostly dealt with Russia. And they said, Corey, they don't really care so much who's president. All they care about is the American people losing faith in their elections. That's what they want. And that's what's happening. And so we're losing. All of us are losing. The fact that other could be China, but all of them love that our institution of we're trusting our elections is getting destroyed. And the other thing is, no matter who wins in November, the other side is going to say the other side stole it, and the country is going to end. It's over. The country ends if Biden wins, or the country ends if Trump wins. We're in a really dangerous place regardless.
Happened in 2016 as well with
I like
Hillary.
this guy.
Everybody on
You
the
make a
left
lot of
was
sense.
saying
I would
that.
agree with that.
Agreed.
But then
Everybody on the left was saying
shouldn't the
that
focus
Russia
be
was
in
taking-
strengthening elections, things like voter ID laws?
Oh,
being
totally.
out
It
the-
should voter ID. I mean, that's obvious. I don't know why the
So if
Democrats
you
are so-
agree that these laws should be passed to secure our elections, then if they're not passed, then our elections are unsecure.
Well, no,
right?
because Laura Trump is also promoting mail-in ballots now, right? Laura Trump said a
It's
few
'cause
weeks
it's
ago
the law.
that
Right.
no, she said that they should.
It's because it's the
enforce
law.
mail-in
Do
ballots.
you believe
No,
that we should have
she
voter
said-
ID?
Yeah,
nationally?
absolutely.
Okay.
I don't.
So-
I think
so we
that's-
don't have that now, right?
But there are
Mail-in
Democrat
ballots?
states that have that too.
So-
like
so-
New York
But
has
the
voter ID.
general
But if you
public should
think
have
we should have
mail-in
voter
ballots.
ID, but we don't have it now, then by conclusion of
doesn't
logic,
mean
doesn't
that
that mean
every-
our elections are insecure?
No, I mean yes, but like not to a point where like it's to a point where like it can be investigated, right? Just because every state doesn't
Not
have
if
voter
it's
ID,
dismissed
like,
on standing.
it's been the standard for years. Just because we have a better standard doesn't mean the old standard
You
means that
agree our
the
elections are
party
insecure,
is,
but you don't think
no,
that
no, no,
they're
no, no,
rigged.
no, no. You think that the election is a conspiracy just because every state doesn't have voter ID. Is that
I
what you're
think
saying?
what's driving the
fact
lack of
that we don't have
security
voter
is a
ID in every
conspiracy. Yes.
state is-
The
I think
lack
it's-
of security is a
the
conspiracy.
lack of a reason, the motivation to push for voter
So why
ID,
did all-
to push for hand counts. We don't want to push for that because we want elections
Well,
to be
let me
insecure.
just say it this way.
Because they're
hand
rigged.
counts, quote unquote, hand counts are disastrous. There was a case I just read about a few days ago where they tried to do a hand count for a local election for 50 votes, and it took them 6
Where?
hours
Who?
in Arizona. There was a county
6
in Arizona.
hours? Oh no!
That's
it took
not
6
true.
hours
That's not
to
true, by the way.
verify the
Let's
let's hear
election.
the
Oh
point.
no!
I live in
6
Arizona.
whole
That's not true.
hours?
Hold on,
Let's just hear the point.
What are we gonna do?
It was for, I don't actually know, it was some state. I just read about it. You can probably fact check it afterwards. But,
Even if it takes 24
There was
hours.
100
like
people.
it,
There was
damn it.
100 people.
Right.
I can tell you because I'm a
very
state delegate.
passionate.
I was in that race. 100 people ran for state delegate. Everyone had to rank. The top 43 got in. So the people who did the hand count not only had to count one person, they had to rank ordinally
There was a small-
everyone. And it
there was a
wasn't 6
small
hours.
local
It took a
election.
couple of hours
There was
to
a
get the
small
hand count
local
done.
election, and there
Yes,
were 25
LD12,
votes.
I'm telling you.
And they had recount after recount, and they actually mismatched like the amount of counts that they had. So I'm saying that like if you do hand counts, like we have the technology. The technology is not inaccurate. If you do recounts, like it's just gonna cause more mass chaos.
Young man,
computers are always
You just
right,
agreed
you
that our
guys.
elections
The
are
computers
insecure.
are
I want you to
always
think
right.
about what you just
They are
agreed
not
about.
insecure.
And
All right,
clear,
I
Dominion
think-
voting is a Canadian.
we got it done?
Many
Said
Canadians
anything?
do not use Dominion votings. They only use paper ballots because they recognize that any electronic system is going to be inherently insecure.
And you live in Alabama.
I've been
I
told
live
that
in
I look like Justin
California.
Trudeau. All right, we're gonna reset. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a spiritual advisor to somebody who's on death row? Or have you ever wanted to know the mind of somebody who almost became a school shooter? Well, those are two conversations that I had on my podcast called Radical Empathy. If you enjoy Middle Ground, you'll probably enjoy Radical Empathy. So after you finish watching this video, head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and give Radical Empathy a listen. Our next prompt is, Trump has ruined democracy. Will the agreeers please step forward? It's kind of lonely up here, guys.
We agree.
You're scared of us.
Anybody that goes up watches MSNBC.
I don't know if we're being recorded. I just want to go on record as saying that pure democracy is mob rule.
let me lower the severity. Let me lower the severity.
I'm going to come up and sit here for one reason. Democracy in its purest form is mob rule. We are a constitutional republic. So if you want to consider Trump destroying this idea of democracy that the Democrats and the left constantly pour out, we have to remember that democracy is mob rule. Donald Trump is pro-Constitution of the United States and thus does not tout democracy, 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 because that's farcical. So I sort of agree with that. I want to destroy the rhetoric that's all about democracy and start talking about that we are a constitutional republic. So that's kind of, sort of agreed, sort of.
Thank you, Lady Maga. Yeah. All right, if I change the word from ruined to weakened, who would come forward? And you can come forward.
That's a little better. I feel, do you want to start?
No, you got it.
I feel like, let's just call Trump what he really is. Kind of like me, he's a great actor and he has a lot of charisma and he's really good at giving the people what they want to hear. And he's selling them, he's kind of like a used car salesman, if you will, right? Like he has this great zest to make this POS look fabulous. And he does it to the heart of America, who's what demographic is that? And going back to that question, would we have this issue and was it going to be violent when they stormed the Capitol? He's talking to this very small group of people who don't have much going for themselves. They go to work, they're 9-to-5ers, they are working factory jobs. I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just saying these are the demographics, the people that make America great again. That's what they live for. And Donald Trump gave them that gift of, yes, this POS, we know it's not good. That's Donald, but we're gonna jump on this bandwagon because you know why? People want one thing in life. They want to feel significant. And he makes people who, dare I say, aren't significant, feel significance. And when you have that need for significance in your life, people do crazy things like storm the Capitol because it makes them feel like they're alive, like they're a part of something.
But are you saying—
And that is ruining, I think, what people would idolize as real Republicans or conservatives, democracy and values and integrity, a word that we can't put synonymous with him.
Can I ask you a follow-up? So you're saying he has the ability to make people who vote for him feel significant. Do you think that's a trait that inherently weakens democracy, or it's how he used it?
I think it's how he used it, because we all need a little bit of significance in order to feel like I'm good enough to get in my car and drive down here and meet with other people and have this talk. But when you do crazy things like what we know happened on January 6th, that's when significance goes overboard. And I believe he's great at manipulating people. Look at him on The Apprentice. He was a star. People loved him. They lived for "You're fired." And it was this caricature, this larger than life creator. The problem was he became his character in real life, in IRL, as my son says. And that's what he takes into the office. And he is a lunatic. He says whatever he wants to say. It doesn't mean he's honest. He just has no couth. And he thinks he's above the law. And that is why he's not, or was it hindering democracy? What was the word?
Weakened.
Weakening. Whatever you think to add to that, dear.
Yeah, so that was great. I mean, that's a good start. But I would just say, first of all, saying that Trump weakened democracy, to go back to a previous point, doesn't mean that I don't have conservative values. I think it means that I value my values more than the person. I think the thing that Trump did, which weakened democracy the most, was that he changed politics from a battle over values to a battle over person. And when
media
people,
attention,
when people idolize values, then they do things to make those values appear in a society.
Yeah.
When people idolize a person, then who knows what happens?
Just attention.
For example, when Trump, when Trump was
Significance.
tweeting or truthing, I guess, about the FISA bill, he tweeted 2 words. And it was gonna pass, right? And then it did eventually pass, but it had to go through a lot more work to do so. He tweeted, "Kill FISA." And that's all it took for the MAGA wing of the House to come around and come and join him. He only has to say 2 words, And then, so yes,
They follow him,
do I think our democracy is strong? Do I think our democracy will survive Trump? Yes, I hope so. I believe so. And I'm a young American. You know, I don't really know how this is going to work out, but I have faith in our institutions. I think we do have the best. I think we do have the best country in the world, right?
Well, a lot
Regardless
of people
who's in
disagree
charge.
with that, though. I've traveled. I've been to 30-some countries. My
I
son's
would
been to 15. When we go there, they
100%.
are embarrassed of us because of Trump.
Right.
And I'm embarrassed to admit I'm an American when I'm traveling abroad. You know where I say I'm from when I'm abroad? I say Hollywood. I'm from Hollywood. And they're, oh, you're Hollywood? But if I say the United States, they're like, oh, Trump. It's embarrassing.
I'm not embarrassed.
Can I ask you a
Yeah,
follow-up?
sure.
You know, you said Trump made it less about values, more about person. When you look back on history, do you see any other presidents who had a similar following, or do you think he set that standard?
I think that as far as being a personality, we've never had someone that made it as much of a centerpiece of their campaign as Donald Trump has. I think Donald Trump coming off of TV as a personality really made that the centerpiece of his campaign. I mean, he came down the golden escalator. I mean, he had all these, soundbite moments at the beginning, like Mexicans are sending their worst. They're, bringing crime. They're rapists, whatever.
Mexican.
And I know you're gonna say like it's not every Mexican, and I agree with you. It was, misquoted, but still, like it's a soundbite. Like it's a really punchy soundbite, and he made it about him and what he said instead of what he stood for. And so I think if you ask a lot of Trump's supporters, they don't even really know what he stands for. They just know that he's a charismatic guy that is conservative, and they are conservative. And so they just, kind of go with what he says because he's so charismatic that, like,
People
for example,
grab onto
he's
it.
talking about, the other day, he was talking about the Battle of Gettysburg, in Gettysburg, with people. And these people are pretty well educated, I would say, on like the things that happen around them. He just goes on a ramble for 2 minutes, and you can see the crowd behind him. They have no reaction. It's clear that he has no idea what he's talking about. He makes up a quote from Robert E. Lee in an Irish accent, and then like nothing happens. He doesn't get any repercussions for that. They just go along with him. He's like, Gettysburg, wow. Like
He's an actor.
He's an actor.
He's a charismatic
he does a
car
great
salesman.
job of getting people on his side through doing everything while doing nothing.
Okay, thank you. I admittedly got us a little off topic. We're talking about Trump has weakened democracy. Disagreeers, will you come in?
Kevin Trudeau, Joel Osteen, a little bit. Have you heard that? Joel Osteen?
Oh, you think I look like Joel?
That's a new one.
So you mentioned Trump has weakened democracy because he turned politics into all about personality and attacks rather than policies. I think the reason why you think that is that you are 19. Because as someone who was older, I remember when Mitt Romney was running and it was all about, he said binders full of women. He put his dog in a crate on the car, and we almost had the inverse with Barack Obama. He's so dreamy. He represents hope and change and good things. This isn't a Donald Trump problem. This is a politics problem. And I also think we can't talk about how Trump has been harsh with the media and his opponents without also including how they have treated him. He's been called a white supremacist, a bigot, XYZ before any of these other stories came to the headlines. From the start, 2016, he was being smeared, as were his supporters, as alt-right racists. I know because I remember this. This was before they had the excuse of storm me downs or whatever. From the start, there was an aggressive campaign against him from the media that has absolutely set the tone for how he in turn treats journalists. I think he's not mean enough, frankly. I hate journalists, but I don't think it's fair to say this started with Trump. If anything, he's merely a symptom of a problem that's existed, I would say, almost forever.
Why did they say he's racist? Because Stormy is white. She's white as white can
Why
be.
did you call him a white supremacist?
I asked
hold
her.
on. You have no credibility to discuss
I asked
race.
a question.
You
Hold
said
on.
I am not black because I'm up here. You got offended because I said you have the Jezebel spirit.
I asked, and
So I just answered your question.
Samson, you have
I answered
an
your question.
earring, and does Jesus approve of that? Isn't that in the Bible? That men are not supposed to have
I think you two are.
Anyway, can I ask?
It's not in the Bible.
Can I show them? I asked her a legitimate question.
Okay, so rewind. What's the question you're
They
asking?
jumped in with their Thomas spirit. So can I ask you, why did they say that he was I'm a pastor's daughter. I can quote the Bible probably as
I
much
could-
as you
No,
can.
no.
All right,
pastor.
because
Different
they're
topic.
talking.
Different
Can you
topic.
tell them to stop talking
Question,
so
question.
I can please?
Ask the question.
Why do they call him a racist?
They call him a racist because they're lying fearmongers who want to manipulate the populace into being afraid that he's going to round up brown people and deport them. That's the actual reason. Now, the official reason for why they call him a racist is because he's actually taking a hardline stance against illegal immigration, which is not a racist or xenophobic position to have.
It's more than just illegal immigration, though, because he's actually closing the border to more than just the people that he's afraid of coming in, which are the terrorists that are coming from the Middle East and the cartels that are coming up from the south.
Who is he closing the
And
border
China.
to? Who is he closing the border to?
Pretty much
Can I
the
just
entirety of
ask-
Mexico
I wanted to
and
interrupt.
the entirety of Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Jordan even. Like, we had a whole bunch of people that were trying to come in that were literally refugees, and we couldn't even look after them.
Is
So
this a
open
problem?
border.
Wait,
Yeah,
you don't need to
18
sell me on
million
Trump. I already support him.
I think plenty of people from Iran and Iraq is a great idea. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and understand
our
this.
country will be
There was
safer.
something called the Third Country Act, which has been completely violated under this current administration. If you were a refugee, you were to go over to the third safest country. We have people coming here from China now, and you should know as well as I know, the Chinese Communist Party doesn't just let people leave. We've got military-age men infiltrating our country. We've got NGOs down in the Panama, Darien Gap. I've got a friend, Ben Berkwam, who makes that journey all the time. Women raped, children trafficked. It's not okay.
Sounds like Trump.
Can I just interject?
Yeah, but
Sounds like
that had
Trump.
nothing to do with
You're
Trump.
not a Republican.
You're not serious.
Can I just interject? Like,
Thank you for
as
telling
far
me
as
what
to
I
the
am.
military, as far as to like the military-age men thing, with people coming across the border being military-age men, like they're also, you can say they're military-age men. I know that's something that Dr. Phil
Lake
goes
and
on
Riley.
about. No, they are military-age.
Riley.
But okay, that's one example. How many people?
That's one example?
How many
That's one?
people
Let him
come?
finish a
Man,
thought.
Can I talk, please? How many people come from or that are in America also commit those same crimes? Far
They're
more.
Americans.
It doesn't matter.
It
They
does
still commit
matter.
the crimes.
I know, but if
You
someone shouldn't be here in the
It does
first
matter.
place.
Can I go back to what my point was? Saying that you have military-age men coming across the border does not mean that they're here to do some sort of military
I've had-
operation. The people who are coming across the border that are military-age men are also working-age men that are supporting their families on the other side of the border. Should they be coming across the border?
But if
no.
there are 5 to
But it
10,000 of
doesn't-
them, they could undermine the entire country.
You think every single illegal
I
immigrant
did not
coming
say that.
across
I
the
said
southern
if there
border
are
is just
only
order.
5
There
to
will be bad
10,000 of them,
actors.
You
Can we
think
get back to
they're
the
just-
could
There will
undermine
be bad
the
actors.
We're pretty
And again,
deep. We're pretty deep into immigration right now.
Yeah.
But like,
and I've talked to
focusing-
Brandon Judd about this.
Let's focus back
The president
on.
of Border
I'd like to
Patrol.
respond to her.
We've got time for
comments.
2 more comments on why Trump has or has not weakened democracy.
So, if I can-
So
if I
my
can-
issue with
Okay,
how
we haven't heard Travis.
Okay, so my issue with how the argument was framed from you two, sorry to say,
That's all right.
is that Trump isn't the issue. The issue is the decline in religiosity in America and also the proponent of ideologies that are typically atheist, which is the rise of socialism
Yeah.
here in America. So you have all of these different socialist factions that are trying to come up
I agree
and
with that
take over the country,
well.
basically. We see the rise of Marxism, like absolutely crazy.
Absolutely.
We see fascist individuals. I know some. It's not pretty.
Scary. I do as well. It's wild.
And especially when I ask them what their specific policies are, some of them are absolutely proponents for socialism.
Yeah.
So I, again, cannot abide any of that whatsoever. I don't see Trump as being a proponent for either Marxism or fascism in any sort of sense of the word, but he isn't going to be the main figure for why the left is so far gone as it has been.
Agreed. But
Yeah,
can
I,
I just?
I agree.
No,
Can I just-
no, other people are going to speak. Could I please
go ahead.
respond
Lady
to her
Maga, you-
allegations and
Well,
characterization
no,
of
just
Trump
say,
supporters?
can you stay on that topic though? He
No,
asked
this is on the
Yeah.
topic.
Brought it
You
up.
came in and you brought it up and you called us 9-to-5ers.
I didn't call
called
you,
us-
I said
No,
middle
you said
America.
Trump supporters.
Is that a
You
bad
said
thing?
middle.
No.
Oh, so
Is that
you're
fair?
responding.
Fair.
You're
I'm
responding
responding to exactly
the
what
type
she
of
said.
person that Trump
That
connects
she,
with. That she's
Yeah,
the way
I
you
didn't say
characterized
you.
Trump support. You didn't say
No, I
me,
didn't
but you
say
did say
This is the
people
last
who
point.
stand for Trump. I'm Lady
No, I didn't.
MAGA
Actually, I didn't
USA.
say that.
Let's let Lady
If
Maga.
people at home rewind a little bit and listen to what she said.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want you to know, je parle français. Yo hablo español. I lived in Africa, Ecuador,
I have
France.
lived
I've
all
lived
over
around the world.
Africa.
I know you're fancy. You're not a 9-to-5er. I just want to tell you, girl.
Not even.
Do not
Not even.
stereotype.
I'm from poverty, my
I'm
sweetheart.
talking, honey.
We need to
Thank
let.
you.
Go ahead.
We need to hear this
Finish.
point
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Your
So I
mascara's
just
running
want
a little
you.
bit.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sweating like a sinner in church, and I know how that feels.
All right, get to your
anyway,
point
I was
already.
trying. Can I talk
You
now?
have to stop.
I know,
speaking.
but she
You need
just
to-
needs to get to the point. It's
No,
like
I'm
dragging
getting-
on and on.
No, I'm being very succinct,
Okay,
actually.
I just have a hard time listening.
Jezebel,
I'm sorry.
please.
Go ahead.
All right.
Bro, if you're
I-
not, if you're gonna call me, you have to call them too.
Well, you
I
called
just
him a
wanna-
white supremacist.
I just want to hear
Can we
Lady
just-
Maga
the
finish the
prompts.
sentence, and then we're going to move to the
I'm
next
going
one.
to finish the
Go.
sentence. The MAGA Trump supporting community is the most intelligent and diverse community I have ever known in my life. Thank you.
Awesome. Great.
All right, let's reset. No, we're gonna reset. Our next prompt: if Trump loses, January 6th will be repeated. Can the agreeers please step forward?
Come over to your side for once.
Why'd you hesitate?
I hesitated because I don't think that it will be violent and uncontrolled like it was last time, and I hesitate to even say if he'll call as large of a crowd as he did last time. There were a lot of flaws in Capitol security, whether it being, we can all agree Nancy Pelosi should have had Capitol security at the Capitol on January 6th. I don't think anyone thought it would reach that level, but she still should have been cautious. I think they will have the additional precautions this time, and I don't think it will get out of hand like it did last time. But at the same time, the passion that you saw on January 6th doesn't really go away in 4 years. And if people see another election, at this point, the rhetoric, I feel like, from MAGA is that if we lose, it's rigged. For example, you had the Secretary of State candidate for Arizona in 2022 saying that if a Republican, or if a county didn't vote Republican, then throw it out, there's something wrong. That's not, and obviously he's an extreme example. I'm assuming most MAGA people don't feel that extremely, but you don't need that many people with that opinion to have a January 6th event. So there was just a few hundred in 2021 that stormed the Capitol, which you say just a few hundred, but it's a small building. I mean, it's, I've been inside the Capitol. The chambers are not that big, not as big as they appear on the TV. So it only takes a small few to set it off.
I agree with what you said. I think the reason why I step forward is just because we know from our experience as a great nation that history does one thing. It repeats itself. And so I would say, I'd probably agree with you and say the magnitude of it might not be as insane, it might not be as intense, but I feel like there will still be people that want to feel significant in their life that day, and they have their leader, Donald Trump, this great, charismatic actor guy who's leading them and make America great, and they're going to feel this energy, this surge that's going to have them to follow in the footsteps that they did. Or maybe if they weren't there in January 6th, that they had FOMO, and so now they want to.
I think we. I won't go that far. I think I want to be respectful to people who still support Trump, in that I was a Trump supporter. And I feel like if I hadn't gotten off the train when I did after the 2020 election, in the lead up to January 6th and around that time, I would still kind of be in that area because Trump's policies were good. I didn't really have a problem with a lot of his policies. But at the same time, we have to respect, there are people that will, choose the policies over Joe Biden. And I respect that. I think that that's, so if you're choosing the policies and you're behind the man, and the man that you respect and he has your policies says something, I even leading up to January 6th, it wasn't out of my mind that the people that were rejecting the election results were just terrible people. I still don't think they're terrible people. I think they're just representing an electorate that says that the election was rigged, even though it's clearly not true. I mean, I think that you just have to respect the MAGA wing and say that it's not the people that are wanting to feel important, it's that they're being led by a madman.
Okay, let's bring in our
And not
disagreeers.
everyone who was there shared that value. Not all Trump supporters would do that. So I think it's important to not lump everyone in with those 100 and some people that were there, because that's not fair either, because I don't think any of these guys would be there, but
Right.
I could be wrong.
Actually, I was going to go to January 6th, and we just didn't go. And we were going to the
you
rally.
wanted to attend?
Yeah, but we were going to the rally. I actually have a very good friend that did attend. After the speech at the Ellipse, he went back to his hotel room. He's a black actor from Hollywood. He ran for the state assembly. He's the vice chair of the Los Angeles GOP. And so he went back to his hotel room, saw MSNBC on the television saying, oh, it's a very somber moment. He said, I was just with those people.
Right.
He went out, he had a good time. He didn't see any of the bad stuff happen.
So he didn't enter the Capitol?
Hold on.
Okay.
Sang the national anthem.
Cliffhanger.
The police were there. They kind of waved him along. He stood in the threshold of the Capitol for 71 seconds, and he's facing 3 years in prison, nonviolent.
Because he walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Guilty
didn't.
by association, I guess, is probably. I'm not saying it's
Again,
fair.
this is not America.
Yeah.
This is not America. We have had a man in jail now for 4 years. Lane, I believe his last name is, no trial. He's in solitary confinement for 4 years. That is not America. That's not the America I want to live in. Also, tapes that have come up since January 6th, we know now that there were munitions shot into the crowd, which I think incited the violence. Nobody asked, where's the pipe bomber?
So it sounds like you're saying there are some problems
I'm saying
with
that
January
there's
6th.
things. It was not an insurrection. No one was armed. It was a
You don't think
protest.
anyone was armed?
Okay, there were
No.
people armed, if I can just interject
Okay,
for a second.
I don't think that's tangible to the conversation, because what you're saying here is that my answer, it kind of feeds into this, because what I think is, if you want to find out if January 6th is going to happen again, ask the FBI.
Yes.
Right.
They were
No, explain.
It's a Fed.
Well,
Explain what you
explain
mean
this.
by that.
Christopher Wray refuses, the FBI director refuses to tell us how many FBI agents he had in the crowd on January 6th.
That was a hearing.
Now, I have reason to believe it was in the hundreds, and including
What's your reason?
including criminal informants.
What's your reason?
Court hearing,
Yeah.
testimony.
Testimonies,
Congressional
hearings,
testimony.
footage,
Yeah.
and the fact that there were so many people who were, hey, who's this guy? Not identified, not facing charges.
Yeah,
Why?
Ray
Was he a
Epps was on the
criminal,
most
was he a criminal
wanted.
informant? So I have reason to believe
Connect
that.
the dots for me.
Yeah, so the dots are connected is the FBI and helped orchestrate FBI as a false flag, not only to impugn the First Amendment rights of Trump supporters, but also to build yet another case against Donald Trump.
And
So
I, as a
all part
Trump
of the law.
supporter, wanted to hear the debate on the floor.
So when you look at
I
those
wanted
images,
the debate
I
on the
just
floor.
want to be super clear on what you're arguing. When you look at the images from January 6th, people in the Capitol, you're saying you believe that hundreds of those people are FBI.
I'm saying that there were, I have reason to believe that there were not only FBI agents, but FBI informants in the crowd. And the FBI, by their own admissions, refused to talk about that. And that is a further proof of
You're
of
saying they're
malfeasance.
pretending to be Trump supporters storming the
Because
Capitol.
there was only
I have
200
to.
people
I have to
there, right?
interject.
Yeah, there
I
were
don't
thousands.
No, I have to interject with a prime example of what happened on January 6th. I'm from Utah. There's a Black Lives Matter terrorist named John Sullivan.
Correct.
He was there,
Correct.
next to
He's
Ashley
from
Babbitt.
Utah.
Correct.
He was in the crowd wearing MAGA gear, causing mayhem, breaking windows,
No
and
Antifa.
inciting
But
violence.
Antifa.
You
and,
can't-
yeah, and he was
you
with,
can't
okay, I'm
say-
talking, girl. I'm talking. Thank you. So, long story short, he sold his footage to CNN. Later, they found out that he was an infiltrator. We have no idea how many of those alleged Trump supporters were infiltrators like John Sullivan. The other thing I have to openly say is Black Lives Matter terrorized our nation.
Yes.
For months.
Burned buildings.
For months.
Absolutely.
Terrorized us. The Democrats and some Republicans thought it was appropriate to bail them out of jail. They are
Kamala
not
did.
I think it's
exactly.
I'm completely with you on that.
They
Sequoia
did
Trump
not
dead.
pay the price for what they did, and yet innocent people like
the
Brandon Strzok from the Walkaway
Yes.
campaign
Yep.
had his
Yeah.
home raided. He went to jail. He's
Can
still
we
on
get Kim
probation.
Kardashian involved?
I think that there's
Because she might be able to help.
Is she your idol, girl?
She
Do
already
you love
has one
him?
person and Trump and her.
There's a
seem to have
fair
great
counterpoint
things, so-
there. I want to just ask kind of a follow-up question. If Biden loses, who thinks that we'll see protests at the scale that we saw in 2020?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I just,
For sure. Probably
and
even
keep
more.
in mind,
can I
when
just
Trump
get a raise of
won-
hands?
When
They will
Trump won,
terrorize
though,
our
they
nation.
turned
We
cars,
will be
they burnt
terrorized.
things.
I feel like they're all kind
They
of
closed down the freeways.
The difference is that the protests, the violence, the riots are going to be worse, and also the prosecutions are going to be almost non-existent. We know this for a
Yes.
fact because we saw the same
We
thing
saw it
happen with
before.
George Floyd.
The whole reason I
We
didn't
don't have
come
equal
here
justice.
Corey, let's hear it.
initially when you asked the question is because, well, A, you're getting the right in trouble for something they haven't done yet. And the right deserves credit for how much crap the left. Oh, they're so dangerous, so dangerous. Well, here's the facts. So the right had one bad day, January 6th. The left tried to burn down the country.
Yeah.
And none of that, and it's like, can we just look at the fact? And nothing pisses me off more than the damage of private property. I don't care what, if it's a pencil. If I give you a pencil, you destroy it, I'm furious.
Murdered children.
What do you do? And they tried to burn the country down. And even January 6th itself, did they spray paint the inside of the beautiful marble? No, did they take any paintings down? Or did they destroy any statues? No.
They broke the
Even
windows.
when they went in the chamber itself, the police were like, guys, you gotta leave. Yeah, okay.
They're
So-
milling about like they didn't even know what.
I mean, was it a bad day?
They were
Absolutely.
taking-
It was a bad day.
selfies.
I have to be
But if it
They
wasn't,
stayed within the velvet ropes.
Yeah, exactly.
Police were like,
Jacob Chan-
I'm right
we-
over
we have
here.
I just want to see the left more
Welcomed
attacked for
in
what
life.
they did.
breaking
for
and
you.
entering is okay as long
Yeah,
as there's
what?
no
But
damage.
at least it's a
As long as
public
you're a
building.
Democrat.
At least
As
it's a
long
public
as you're
building. It's
a
not a private
Democrat.
building.
I want to hear your disagreement.
Good thing I'm not a Democrat.
I am not.
I
I
buy
am
that.
not saying BLM riots were a terrible thing. Okay, I'm not saying they were justified, but there is footage of Trump. Like, no matter how many, you say like even 100. Let's say like a high number, like 100 FBI agents were in the crowd, right? Going into there's still Trump supporters smashing in the windows at the behest of
Like
Donald
John
Trump.
Sullivan, the infiltrator from Utah, smashing windows.
Because Donald Trump brought them to the Capitol, and he told them that if Mike Pence didn't reject the electors, then Mike Pence is a traitor. So if you have that false dichotomy, it's very easy to see how when you have people outside of the Capitol that are vehement supporters of Trump, right? You'd agree, they're like really, really big supporters of Trump. If you have big supporters of Trump outside the Capitol, and they feel like he's being betrayed because there's videos going like inside the crowd of people when Mike Pence rejected the electors, they're like, oh, Mike Pence is a traitor, Mike Pence is a traitor. If you have people with that mindset that are considering themselves to be patriotic Americans and they're outside the Capitol within running or forcing distance of getting to the traitor, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to go get the traitor.
Donald Trump
They're not
should
gonna
be
give him a
impugned
hug.
for saying that people should go and display their
Peaceful
First
think-
Amendment.
I'm saying he knew what was gonna
Let me
happen.
finish, young man, because you just said it doesn't matter if there's 100 FBI
I don't think my
agents.
age has anything to do with this.
You said it doesn't matter if there's 100 FBI agents in the crowd. Donald Trump still told people to go there. No, it
did.
does matter. If FBI agents are in the crowd like Ray Epps and John Sullivan inciting violence.
It was next
and
to
Or
Wait,
they were
hold
just
on,
there
hold on.
to
There's a
gather
reason why
intelligence.
entrapment exists as a law. If law enforcement agents are entrapping individuals to commit a crime, we do not prosecute that. So if you're admitting that they were potentially engaging in entrapment, then what does it matter?
I didn't admit anything of that
You said
sort.
it doesn't matter if FBI agents are in
No,
the crowd.
I'm saying the FBI.
You just said that.
Okay, yes, I'm admitting that there were FBI agents in the crowd because they've admitted that themselves.
Right. And John Sullivan's in the crowd. And
I'm not
Don't
saying
forget
there
John
weren't
Sullivan.
FBI.
He-
Listen,
And he was
Utah,
next to
like
Ashley
the-
Babbitt when she was murdered.
There you go.
Can I ask a
Little
follow-up?
Johnny.
Did anybody, what they saw on January 6th, did anybody support?
No.
Or
No.
if you were there?
I have to be
And
honest.
I said no
I-
because I saw what was happening and I wanted the debate on the floor. I wanted to watch our senators and congressmen argue it out.
And the right had been so well behaved up to that moment. It
And
kind of ruined their
Trump
immunity. It was like,
supportors are fun. We have the
right is
best
still
time.
I don't
I
support
know.
breaking windows.
No,
I don't
we do.
support
We got
trespassing.
Trumtillas and car parades.
I don't support breaking windows. I don't support trespassing. But I think the reason we can't ignore the reason why the left is focusing so much on January 6th, it's not out of honesty. It's not because they were actually outraged. It's to paint a political picture of Donald Trump as someone who tried to stage a failed coup. So excuse me if I'm not going to care that Trump wanted his people to peacefully protest and then they broke some windows. When we have, with people like AOC, I think maybe Biden and Kamala Harris
Maxine
themselves,
Waters.
basically propagating the idea that George Floyd was murdered, that spurred how many millions or even more dollars of
But he
damage
was
and all
murdered.
those.
It's a
forget
distraction
about-
tactic
Actually,
that
the
left
coroner's
uses
report
frequently.
said it was fentanyl.
What do you mean? The
I'm sure it
distraction
did.
tactic,
So
Travis?
it's a
It
distraction.
did.
I'm sure that report.
did.
No,
He asked
but
me a question.
Yeah, like 3 times at least.
I just want to hear from
topic.
Travis
Yeah,
before
3
we.
times the
Travis.
lethal amount.
I'm sure
Frankly,
that
the
report.
left,
Quiet.
frankly, the
Go
left,
look it up.
Quiet, you guys.
Let Travis talk.
Sorry,
the left
Travis.
often uses distraction tactics in order to paint the Republicans into a bad corner from 1 or 2 bad days, like you were just describing. Thank you for everything that you just said, by the way. Anything that we see that the Black Lives Matter movement has done lately has honestly been to the detriment of our country, mainly because of all the destruction of private property, like you were saying before, and especially with the frequency of how often that has happened, especially within the last 8, even 12 years. I have seen more destruction in my life from the left than I ever have from the right.
Exactly.
100%.
I agree, but just because the left has caused destruction, I don't think we can excuse the destruction that, like, if Donald Trump did not cause January 6th, no one caused January 6th.
How can
It was
how can
a
a
Twitter-
Twitter,
it was
how
right.
can a tweet cause the entirety of January 6th?
No, don't
though?
say
It wasn't a
'cause I
tweet.
like-
It was the
like,
fact
you
that
can't
Mike
make that
Pence
tweet.
didn't
No, it's
accept
not
the
just a
electoral
tweet,
vote. It was
dear.
not
It's
just
not
a
just
tweet.
a tweet.
No.
It was not just a tweet.
Can't say
it was
that.
the fact
Actually,
that Mike
Twitter
Pence
took it
did-
down. He banned.
Yes,
Twitter
he did.
banned.
He did call for
Trump
peace.
that
He did
day.
call for
But
peace.
they're-
Right? I'm not.
And they
I'm not arguing
censored
that.
him.
But they're
let
mitigating
me
the
just-
power of social media,
Yeah,
and I
let me-
like you a lot, but I don't feel like that's a fair
Yeah.
statement.
Well, they censored
Can I
Trump
just provide
that
an
day.
example? So if you send 3 people to a soccer game, right, and you tell them before, if the game loses if this team loses the game, then the game is rigged, and you should attack not attack the refs, but the refs
any
are
game
like
from
worthy
Philly.
of being like they're terrible people. They're terrible people. You should rush the pitch afterwards, whatever. And then you send them communication during the game that says, actually, like, you should be peaceful. But only like 2 out of the 3 get it. And then the one that doesn't get it still rushes the field. The person who inspired them to be there in the first place is still
Your
responsible
analogy
for them
makes
rushing
sense
the
if
field.
Trump said rush the pitch.
Exactly.
He said
He
be
did
there,
not.
and
Okay.
he
He
said
didn't say
that
that.
Mike
Yeah,
Pence
he
would be a
didn't.
traitor.
And
Be there.
If you have,
periodically protest
if you
and let
have,
your voice be heard,
Yes,
is what
but
he said.
when you have extremist groups there, that is the logical conclusion of what they were going to do, and he knew that.
Correct.
Okay, we gotta reset for the final prompt. Biden has a better chance of winning the election than Trump. Will the agreeers please come forward? Some hesitation.
Some hesitation, yes. The heartbreaking reason that I have stepped forward is not because I believe that Donald Trump could legitimately lose an election. America needs Donald Trump. We had 4 great years under him. And the average Joe, the 9-to-5ers who work hard, need Donald Trump in office, and they know it. I get countless emails from people who said, I'm reconsidering everything I ever thought about Donald Trump. His popularity is unparalleled, and we are the silent majority. Because of the chilling effect, I lost my 8-year career in the airline industry, essentially for being a Trump supporter and a Second Amendment supporter. People cannot speak out. I know the silent majority of this country. I've traveled this country for 5 years. I know the American people, and I know that Donald Trump would win the election. The reason I'm heartbroken to be sitting here right now agreeing with that is because I do not fully trust our election process.
I see.
Some hesitation for me because I had to separate the difference between the strategy likelihood of Trump winning versus the reality of all the odds against Donald Trump. So I came to sit here, I agree with your prompt, because all the odds are absolutely stacked against Donald Trump. If you would have told me 15 years ago there's going to be a presidential candidate who the NBA and all of Hollywood and all of professional sports campaigns against, yet that candidate only loses by razor-thin margins, that's what Trump happened in 2020. So Trump has all the odds stacked against him. And by the way, he has hours of lawfare preventing him from raising funds, preventing him from campaigning. He has all the odds stacked against him. Yet, he's still doing great in polling, and I think that's just a testament to how much the American people reject Biden and embrace and long for everything that Trump did during 2016 and 2020. But I agree with your prompt, because at the end of the day, the odds are so stacked against Donald Trump. It's just factually accurate that Donald Trump is essentially facing an insurmountable battle against the uniparty and the deep state. One that I do think he's going to win, but I do think that the odds are certainly stacked against him.
The reality is people remember what life was like for 4 years under the Trump administration. That inherently makes him popular because they have proof of what kind of a president he will be again. So if he loses, unless there's transparency that's proven transparency, I will campaign with all my heart, and I will pray for a miracle, and I will pray that hearts will be changed, and it will be so obvious that he won that it happens. But I just don't see that happen because they've got him in a courtroom where he can't even campaign right now.
What was life like when Trump was president?
Oh, we had prosperity, we had energy independence. beautiful energy independence, which means we weren't dependent on foreign oil. Iran, the country that's funding the terrorism in Palestine right now, was broke under Donald Trump. We had peace through strength. The world did not want to mess with Donald Trump. He basically said, if you mess with America, we will decimate you. We love you.
That's why we had no new wars.
No new wars.
under
And
Trump.
now we are embroiled in the most terrifying, awful wars around the world, and it started as soon as good old Mr. Joe
U.S.
Sniffer.
boots are on the ground currently in Ukraine. U.S. boots
Exactly.
are on the ground in Israel, and U.S. boots are on the ground in the Gaza Strip currently because of Joe Biden and the war drive that Trump's not a part of.
Yes, housing was more affordable, groceries are more affordable, gas was more affordable. Life, if anyone is honest, if they just eliminate the personality of Trump, they don't like Trump, we get that. And you ask them, was this good for you? Was this good for you? Did this benefit you? The answer is yes. And women and children who are being trafficked and kidnapped and dying on our border right now because it's open, they were not because our border was almost secure. We had the most secure border. And that's not about keeping Mexicans out. It's about saving the lives of Mexican people who are dying and being trafficked on the border right now. It's just in Mexico. I love those people. I don't want a strong border because I'm racist. I care about them. I talked to a Mexican girl and they found a young girl who had been raped. 60 different DNAs were in her body. That's what we're talking about when we have an open border. Donald Trump cares about this country. And yes, he points out the rapists and the criminals, but he also cares about those people. But the media will never tell you that. And we as MAGA Trump supporters, we know that a strong border would save Mexican lives, it would save American lives. And that's why I think the average American knows that now. Okay. And here we are. I mean, they're prosecuting the man who could save the lives of Mexicans.
Thanks for your response. Let's bring in our disagreeers. Do you want to start?
Sure. Well, I think both of you made really good points about the election integrity and the fact that there are a lot of problems we saw in 2020 that have not been resolved. Social media censorship, the issue of ballot harvesting, voter ID laws, the people who are working the polls, all of those are still problems. I'm hopeful that everything can be overcome by how dissatisfied with the economy and the state of the country the American people are. When it was 2020, there was a lot of anti-Trump sentiment, and Joe Biden represented perhaps a return to normalcy. He's just like Barack Obama Part 2. Obama wasn't so bad, right? The world kept going. That's what they were thinking, right? But now we've actually seen what 4 years of Joe Biden has done. Inflation is insane. Yeah, they say the unemployment numbers are good. A lot of that is just regaining jobs from COVID, and the workforce participation rate is still not recovered from the pandemic. So a lot of these jobs are actually just people getting back to work instead of new jobs. The border is open. We have these new wars. There's so many problems that I think it would be so unbelievable if they tried to pull what they did in 2020 once more, that I'm hoping they don't try again, or if they do, that they're caught.
So here's what I'll say. I think you make a lot of good points about Joe Biden. I will say this is why I'm a Republican, because I don't agree with Joe Biden, right?
But you'll vote for him.
I will vote for him over someone who tried to pull a coup on this country, yes. But
Russiagate was a coup on this country.
no, I don't, that's irrelevant.
Do you believe
We
Trump
saw it
colluded with
our
Russia? Did Trump collude with Russia?
No,
To steal an election?
no.
Okay.
And so this country went through 2.5 years of a special counsel, $40 million on a dossier that Hillary Clinton paid for.
Wait,
and
does
that's
the,
okay.
does the
also say
Biden-Ukraine corruption not bother you? Does that not bother you at
Well,
all?
I'll just say this.
10% for
it
the
went
big guy.
through
Yeah.
the entire House, right? There's Biden-Ukraine corruption, Biden-Hunter Biden corruption. They couldn't get an impeachable offense to pass the House.
Oh, it's still in process.
No, it actually ended.
It's still,
recently.
no, it didn't.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
It did. There
No,
was
it
some
didn't.
kind of impeachment.
No,
that
I
just
watched the
went down
hearings. I'm a hearing junkie. That's what I do.
Okay. It will not pass the House.
Well,
right?
what it won't pass is the Senate, because we have a Democrat majority
It
in
will,
the Senate.
either
Your
way,
friends
Just like
are
the
in
will
Mayorkas
not
and
pass.
Your
Kitchens
friends
will
are all
not
running
pass
the
the House.
Senate.
There are enough Republicans that are not willing to go that low that it will not pass the House. So I think it's irrelevant. I know Biden has done a terrible job, and I admit that. But I
You'll
think
vote for him.
I
But
think
you'll vote for him.
it's only well,
'Cause you
it's
hate
either
Trump.
that. I'm not saying I would 100% vote for him. I would definitely feel better voting for a third party. Right, I would feel better voting for a libertarian.
Why aren't you voting
or for
libertarian then? Why would you
RFK,
admit to vote?
even though
vote
I
for
have
Biden?
strong disagreements with RFK, I would
Why
feel
not vote for RFK then?
because
Yeah.
I don't feel like in this system, I actually have written about this in the past, in this system, where there's a tie-break system for the Electoral College. The reason why we're in a two-party system is because there's no way for a third-party candidate to actually win enough support in the Electoral College, and then once they get to a tie-break, they have nothing in Congress to support them.
Can we define what the two-party system is first? Because we
Two-party
have
system
way
is
more than two parties in
Republican,
this country.
yeah, but it's been whittled down
don't
over
know.
time to a two-party system. So
I don't know if
back
we
to
have
my
time.
back to my point. Back to my point.
Can I ask if you're going to vote for Biden?
Yeah, because she asked too a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
we
I
want to
got-
know.
Okay, so first
Yeah,
of all,
let's do a raise of hands. So just
Yeah.
real quick, who here is going to vote for Trump?
I could be.
You guys are going to
I could be
vote for Joe
convinced.
Biden?
Okay, who here? So we have 3 for Trump. Who here is
voting for Trump.
voting?
I'm going to talk about it.
Who here is voting for Biden?
Maybe.
Undecided
Oh,
voters.
we've
You
convinced him.
slippery,
We've convinced
slippery
him.
fish.
We've
I'm
convinced
just
him.
joking.
I think in a binary choice, I would rather have someone who hasn't tried to overthrow the country. So I will probably
Okay.
end up
That's
forcing
a lot.
myself to plug my nose and vote for Biden.
Okay, so
And
we have
donate
a
to
maybe,
Planned
we have a
Parenthood.
soft Biden, we have our clear Trumps. I want to hear who the candidate is that the other people are voting for. So let's start.
I would say like I'm with him on the fence. I would rather have an aging brain versus a dementia brain. I would rather have someone who's not sexually harassing people than a misogynist. These types of things. However, I don't agree with the communistic energy of Biden, and so for that, it would be like, it's the lesser of two evils, and I would hope that there would be a new candidate. A lot of my peers, my speech and debate coaches, believe that someone's going to emerge like in August. And so we'll see. I don't know. But like, I'm looking for someone younger. And this, you guys have to realize this is the oldest presidential candidates we've ever had in history.
Yep.
Why are we
True.
seeking geriatric people, especially with Donald Trump?
Trump
you guys?
has more energy
No,
than a
hold on.
14-year-old.
Let me get up
I
earlier
just
than
saw him
Let me
speak.
finish
He has
my
more
point.
Yeah,
energy.
I want to finish this
finish
point,
my
then I want to
point,
hear
and
the
I
other
know you wanna go
candidates.
on. Donald Trump's mom or his father and grandfather both had dementia by 65. His mother was a schizophrenia.
Doesn't mean he has any of that, sweetie.
He does though.
He's
They've
sharp
proven
as
it.
hell.
They've
No.
Yeah, I got family members who are.
Ronnie
So
Jackson.
we got
I
so
don't
soft
have
on Biden. Two soft
I'm
on
looking
Biden.
for another candidate.
Travis, who are you voting for?
I would never vote for Biden. I could be convinced to vote for Trump, only if I could get around all of the issues that I have for him on a moral ground.
Exactly.
I am leaning more libertarian at the moment. I voted for Joe Jorgensen in 2020. I very much do not want the government in any of my stuff whatsoever.
Exactly.
So that's
I
my
will,
backup.
I will agree with you on the two-party system. I would be libertarian if I felt I could be effective as a libertarian.
Well, I
But
think that's why people
And
go to
libertarianism
Biden,
does have its own
like,
problems too,
All right,
They can't.
especially for the
making
the
our way
platform.
around.
I will not be voting at all because I am not an American. I've lived in America for years, came the legal way, spent a lot of money and time through the visa process and all of that. But that is one of the reasons why I love Donald Trump. He is not the type of political candidate who's going to put people who are breaking the laws trying to skip to the front of the line over those of us who are doing everything we can to do things the right way. And Donald Trump is, I think, one of the first candidates to actually talk about merit-based immigration into the United States. He tried to pass the RAISE Act, under which, people like me who provide jobs, like I own a company, I employ Americans, it would have been so much easier for us to, I guess, get things done. But instead, we have Joe Biden, who is essentially giving money to people who are breaking the laws, thinking that they have the right to jump to the front of the line, even though I have family members who are going through the same immigration process, and it's a slap in the face.
But
So
is
if you
it
could
I
vote,
love
you
her.
would.
I love it. Do you love her too? She's amazing.
She's great.
And then Corey, who are you voting?
I mean, this is such a tough one for me because I'm always rooting for, as I said before, the anti-left. I don't want to call it the right. It's everyone. It's the center, it's the right, it's the far right, it's the libertarians, it's people that aren't supposed to exist. Black conservatives, not supposed to exist. Gay conservatives, not supposed to exist. All these people, I want to see this beautiful movement of all these people that the left is supposed to be so diverse, diversity, blah, blah, blah.
That's the Trump
Except
movement.
diversity of thought.
Trump movement.
And to roll them over. And it's just, I wish you guys that have been on the right much longer had a kid like, I love Vivek, he's my man.
I love Vivek too, and Trump loves
Okay,
Vivek.
I know, but
So
I
if
wish
Vivek-
he was the guy.
If
Or
Vivek
someone like
becomes
that.
his vice,
It's going to be real hard for me to not vote for Trump. I mean, again, I love Byron. I love Tulsa. There's so many people. I
We're
want there
losing
to be a
our country.
morally, ethically good person.
So if the election's today, who are you voting for? Come on.
Oh, I mean, I have to go RFK. Sorry. Because I think, here's the thing, I
least you
think
didn't say Biden.
with quote
Thank
unquote
you, guys.
wasting your vote, I think is the death of democracy.
Consider it.
If you should vote for who you want
Better
to
than
vote for.
Trump.
If we get into
fact
this
that you
world
would
of,
consider it
because 80% of the country hates Biden and Trump. Well, why don't they vote for RFK who has a chance or something? I hate this idea. You have to vote for Biden or Trump or it's a wasted vote.
Ranked
No, that's the death of
I don't think Biden's
Okay, and
voted.
unfortunately, we're just out of time, so we have to end it there. But I just want to thank you all for being in this video. It was contentious.
And we thought it was going to be all peaceful.
I thought
I know, we were so friendly before.
Yeah, I still love you.
I just want to.
love you.
I just want to share my final thoughts. You know, I disagree with many of you on my
You're a
own
liberal.
personal.
He's a liberal.
But
I was super
I
left,
see the
but
value in all of you.
open
I
to
respect you all as people. I love you all as people. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to hopefully, you know, like years.
You got the
where-
right shirt on, USA. There you go.
Where it's more common for us to just have conversations and.
And honestly, I want to personally thank you for this because
Yeah.
in the Republican movement, the MAGA crowd is all about the freedom. The staunch Republican suit and tie crowd often won't even talk with me. So the fact that you are willing to host dialogues with the misfits, with the unicorns, with the people who think outside of the box, is a wonderful program. We know that you lean left because you asked us our pronouns, but, but
Get that in the video.
That being said,
Ragini asked you your
no,
pronouns.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm a man.
But
But you guys are offering one of the only spaces on the internet right now with this
Dialogue.
fascinating
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And if we don't talk, we're in trouble.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
That's
there's
exactly
talk, so
right.
thank
If
you.
we don't do
But
this, we are.
I see all your humanity. I hope
Yeah.
we all continue to see each other's humanity.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, we need
because
to.
Completely agree.
You guys
dehumanization,
do
I
a
think,
great
is the
job
biggest
of
risk.
setting a space that's safe and that people can talk and really share their passions and their beliefs and not be judged or a little judged because that's what we're doing, right? Yeah. But,
You did have that Jezebel spirit.
I have that. Watch me change my username on every single
I was
platform.
going to say.
All right, well, thank you all.
Can we interview you now?
No.
Come on, let's go. You sit here.
Thank you all. You guys
glad
can
I
shake
had
hands.
this
You can
space.
kind of.
Thank you so much for watching that episode, and a huge thank you to our partner Ground News for helping us fact check this episode. Their app and website allows you to compare news from thousands of countries across the political spectrum in one place. If you want to avoid information blind spots and have more productive cross-aisle conversation, subscribe through our link at ground.news/Jubilee to save 40% off unlimited access. That's unlimited. You know what else is unlimited? Your ability to subscribe to Jubilee. Click that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching the episode. We'll see you next time.